Here on Joy 99.7 FM. Yay! Thursday is here. I love it. Yeah. I get to speak to amazing people who are causing change and doing great things for Mother Ghana. And this evening, I have one such amazing story for you. Welcome aboard. My name is Lexis Bill. Let me say thanks a lot to my team as well for putting this together. Yeah. We got to talk about something that has been bugging my mind for quite a while. You know, today's is quite special because I personally have wondered many times how life itself would have been if some of us didn't have the gift of speaking and hearing. I mean, you're listening to me on the radio right now, and you probably are enjoying what you're hearing from Joy FM. But what if you didn't have that gift of hearing? Yeah. What if, we had to only speak to you through signs and deliberate instructions and whatnot? What if you couldn't actually even communicate? Yeah. You could listen to radio and you hear nothing. Have you thought about it? I mean, I really can't imagine how life would be, but it is a reality for many of our friends, family members, children, and members of our community. Luckily for us, there are people who have dedicated their lives to helping people, especially children with speech and language disabilities. My guest is a speech and language therapist with several years' experience as an early years practitioner, a counselor, support coach for staff working in the field of disability. Now, she's worked in both the public, private, and voluntary sector for many years in the UK and Ghana. She's the founder of Awawa 2 and initiator of the setting up of the audiology and speech and language therapy department of the University of Ghana. Nana Ekia Owusu is my guest here of Exciting Profile. Welcome, Nana Ekia.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am very well.
Oh, and I must say that you know how to put things together. Really? How to say it. I mean, she's looking. You should go on our Facebook page. We're live, eh? She's got this Afropolitan look, and you got it going on.
Oh, thank you.
Is this the Duku, or this has a more, refined name?
Rap normally.
This is a rap.
Yes.
This is Duku. Then this is Duku.
I'll show you Duku. Duku is a bit tro.
Okay, but this is cotton, eh?
Yes.
All right. Cotton, so. Anyway, but you look good. I'm so happy that you're here today. First of all, let me commend you for the great work you're doing for Ghana and the many families that you have successfully helped in this endeavor. I mean, I read a lot about you and I thought, well, this is quite a challenging thing that you're doing, and for you to do it so yes and commit your life to it, it's impressive. Good job.
Thank you.
Are you fulfilled?
Yes. I am fulfilled. I believe that this is work that was made for me. You know how we say something is a calling?
Yeah.
I believe that this is my calling. This is something that I have been called to do. I normally would tell my students or people that even if I was very, very ill and I have to see somebody who is a child, or I have to meet a child who has a challenge or a difficulty, immediately I forget all about my illness.
Wow.
Yes, until I have seen them. So working as a speech and language therapist, I have really enjoyed this. And I think today is a good opportunity to talk about, how these things happen for many of these children.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you are a parent and you look forward to having children.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, you become pregnant. 9 months later, everybody is so happy, and you have your child. And then some few months down the line, 24 months down the line, you are told that the child has a problem, or you discover that this child is not communicating or doing things that you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out that this child is not talking or able to express themselves in socially acceptable ways that we expect, and can be very, very devastating for a lot of parents.
Yeah.
And it breaks families, because sometimes family members start quarreling, like a husband and wife.
Oh.
Yeah, because this is not in my family, and
Yeah.
I don't have this in my family, and
Yeah.
none of them have it in their family, but it has happened.
Yeah.
And for some members, it can actually lead to marriage breakdowns.
Wow.
I have had a couple of times. I've had people come back because some families have agreed or for us to refer them for counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a family come back to really thank us for, for initiating that. But generally, speech and language difficulties are broad.
Mm-hmm.
So we have it for children, and then we have it also for adults.
We'll go into those technical details, yeah? But let me just satisfy my curiosity for starters before we actually even get into the technical bit where you can lecture us on it. I need to put my mind to rest. Like I was telling you before we came on here, I sat today and I just imagined, what if I couldn't hear and I couldn't talk? You are closer to the action, so you would probably know how the people feel. Earlier, you were talking about families and third parties, but the people themselves, do you have an idea what it feels like to be in that position?
I can only imagine it. It's very difficult to know exactly how people feel. But yes, people must feel devastated. Imagine that you cannot be included in many, many, many things. For example, we had a little boy once before who we managed to get into a school, and that is always a struggle, getting children into mainstream who have language challenges.
Yeah.
And initially this little boy, because he was insecure, because he was not talking, he's communicating in his own way, but he's not talking, expressing himself in the way that is acceptable to you and I. And I remember that initially he would be spitting and being very antisocial in his behavior. And a lot of the children in the school were moving away from him and not wanting to associate or to play with him.
Yeah.
And this is partly because this child does not know how to express himself, and the best way he knows how to do is to do it in his own way, which means I spit means don't come close, or I am not happy with something.
Yeah.
But subsequently, with support, they became he became more and more able to express himself, not verbally, but at least non-verbally, and was able to move with the other children in the school. And so I visited the school again, and as I was observing what was going on, the children would come to me and they would go, Miss, now Kojo is our friend and we are playing with Kojo, and Kojo likes to do this, Kojo likes to do that. Kojo's insecurity had subsided because he had somebody who was supporting him in the school. And the children now are playing with him. Now he's more included in what they are doing in school.
Yeah.
The children know him. If they meet him in the community, they can wave, and say, we know this little boy. Otherwise, such children are normally locked at home, or some people lock them up in the house and do not allow them out of the homes. So you can imagine.
Yeah, and what
kind of life would that be?
What's even worse for me is knowing that you have to live with this condition forever.
Yes.
Most of these people have to live with it forever.
Yes.
I don't know whether there are levels of resolution. Are they ever able to resolve these? Or, like I'm thinking, you have to live with it forever.
Yes, you do have to live with it forever. There's no cure for it, as I say. But as we say, God moves in mysterious ways. When there could be miracles. But
have you seen any of the miracles yet?
I would say that I have seen some of the miracles, not people talking as you and I, but making enough progress such that they are able to be part of their society or their community again. Yeah, and my miracles are different levels, if you understand.
Yeah.
So you can have a child who is completely not doing much, not talking, attention and listening, having difficulty sitting, and suddenly, when you have done a bit of therapy with that child, you find that there's a lot of improvement and a lot of change. And for me, it is a miracle.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I said before, when I sent that little brief, it's one of the things that I've really, really enjoyed are those testimonies. When parents come and say that now Kwame can sit, we go to church, and Kwame can sit with me for a whole 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He's not running around. He's not trying to go for the pastor's mic or trying to go and play the instruments. And now he can sit with me for all this period so we can focus and listen to the word of God. I think for me, it's a huge testimony, and I love hearing those stories.
You talked about how it affects families, and earlier you chronicled how, families could actually even break because of these conditions. Now, when you meet parents like this who have kids who have these impairments and are devastated in that state, what do you tell them?
It's very difficult. It really is very difficult. We can only assure them and let them know that we are there to do the best we can to improve, to make progress for the child and to make an impact in their lives. But beyond that, it is very, very difficult because these are children who are going to remind, at different stages, the parent is going to go through different stages of grieving. At different stages, they're going to grieve for this child that they never had. So you've had a little boy. At 2 years, you expected them to start talking. They are not talking. You go and see the therapist. Let's say you come see us, and then we start working and helping to improve the child's communication. But then at 5 years, other children or his mates are going to school or to mainstream school. Your child is still not able to do that. So even though you are happy that there has been some progress from 2 years to 5, at 5 years you are reminded again. Then when you see his mates going to maybe senior high school and then to university, so at every stage parents are reminded, of the child they never had. So it's like every time you die over again. Because you kind of bury the child that you were expecting to have. And that is very difficult, and that's something that we really cannot take away, you know what I mean.
How do you personally feel when you meet these instances?
Well, it's very difficult to actually kind of quantify it. It's very difficult for me to express it. But personally, when I meet these challenges, I feel sad. Nevertheless, I also feel I'm nearly always positive that we can do something to make progress. And I say this because sometimes you can support these children against the odds, what I call against the odds. And we might think that this child has this difficulty and nothing can be done about it. But when we think about other people, when I look at other people who have disabilities, so for example, I don't know whether you know about this Stephen Hawkins man.
Yes, Stephen Hawkins, I know. The late Stephen Hawkins.
Yeah, the late Stephen Hawkins. And then we have also like the Helen Kellers and all that. And I think that sometimes in our community, because we do not appreciate, we do not appreciate difference and do not invest in children who may have challenges. I think personally that we lose the opportunity to have some great people in our midst. And that is why I feel sad about the situation, because I look at some of the children and I think if we had the right resources and enough resources to be able to support some of these children, there may be authors and there may be people who would be deliverers in different areas, in the country. But because we do not invest in many of these children, I think that the country loses out a lot, because
Yeah.
many of these children can be helped and can be supported, and so they will be able to take on areas and do things that will progress the country. You get
Yeah,
what I mean?
I totally
Yeah. So
do.
I
I
feel
mean,
sad about it
yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
And same here, because now that you mentioned Stephen Hawking, I'm just thinking like he rose to become a professor in mathematics at Cambridge and is one of the, well, most
Renowned, yes.
renowned physicists,
Yeah.
and cited in so many
Mm-hmm.
academic journals and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And you don't see that possibility this side of the world because
Exactly.
there's nothing there to support, people with their speech impairment.
Yes, and that is what I mean by it's very. I find it very sad,
Yeah,
because I see some of these children, even at 2 years, 3 years, and you can see this child has potential.
yeah,
If you can help this child, and we can help that child to a point, but if they had the necessary devices
yeah,
and all that we need to be able to progress them, including allowing them into mainstream, into school,
yeah.
even if they can't go to mainstream school, to have a system where they are also educated so that they will be able to support the country,
Yeah.
I believe.
I know you helped set up the audiology and speech and language therapy department at the University of Ghana. What really does the training focus on?
Okay, so the training focuses on training audiologists. So there's one part audiologists. So those are the people, the professionals who take care of our hearing.
Okay.
So they would find out whether you can hear right,
Mm.
or whether you need aids,
Okay.
or whether you have to go to signing school. But now we have also cochlear implants, and so that cochlear implants is actually imitating how the cochlea works, and so more and more people are now exploring that as well. And then we have speech and language therapy,
Mm.
and this department looks after people with communication and swallowing disabilities.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Your story is one of self-sacrifice. I mean, even the part about feeling sad every time you have an issue or a challenge with somebody, that's self-sacrifice. You know what I mean? You can't feel sad on your job every time. But 15 years ago, you had a good paying job in the UK and you resigned and moved back to Ghana.
Yeah, where did you hear that?
Well,
Because I didn't tell you that.
you didn't tell me that. Well, I found out. And I want to actually get to hear the full story. But let's build it up from where you were born, where you're from. Of course, I need to understand where the Afrocentric roots are coming from. So let's start from there, and then we'll build it up to why you came back to Ghana.
Yes. Okay. So
Where are you from?
I'm from a town called Pechi Number 2 in the Ashanti region, Bekwai.
Kumasi.
Yes, Kumasi area, Bekwai.
Do you Asantini?
Yes, but I never lived there.
Yeah.
Yes, and I never really lived. I lived in Kumasi, but I don't know. I don't know it as well as I know Accra.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're Dadaba.
Me nkasa me dadaba, but meka say in between.
Okay. Now you're Accra.
Ayara.
I see.
Ayara. But we walk to school sometimes, so I don't know whether
Are you explaining? Are you trying
so,
to
but
explain?
but I grew up in Achim Tafo.
Okay.
New
Okay.
Tafo, Koforidia Tafo.
Yeah.
Because my father used to work at the Cocoa Research Institute.
Okay.
Yes, in Tafo. So that's where we all grew up.
Mm.
And I am the 9th of 11 for my mother.
Okay.
And I don't know which number I am for my father, because my father had 18 of us.
Wow.
But he owned up to having all these children, so he did not. So we were all together, kind
You
of.
are all together.
Yeah, but not in the same house. But
Yeah.
like he brought us together, so we know each other. So
This man.
yeah.
Wow.
So like my other brothers and sisters, we all moved together as brothers and sisters. So there was no real.
Your mom had 11.
My mom had 11, and I'm number 9.
Are you following
So,
suit?
No, no, not really.
Okay.
Those were the times. No, not really.
I know. Yeah.
So, so that's where I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I had a really nice, lovely childhood
Mm.
because in my house at any one time there were enough of us, to keep ourselves company. I had brothers. We were on the senior high school. I had
Mm.
my brothers. I had two brothers who went to Adisado.
Mm.
And then I went to Wesley Girls High School, and then I had a sister from Ghana National. So like Cape Coast schools, and we
Yeah.
all come home, and it was just fun. So I had a really
What would you
nice
say was
childhood.
the biggest lesson that setting taught you? The whole family setting.
Um, I think the growing up together and supporting, being there for each other. I feel that that's it. And my mum, my mom's training, also I think I would find was
Your
quite
mom's
touching.
training.
Like no, like the way she trained us.
How did she train
To
you?
be honest,
Okay.
yes, to be honest, both my mom and my dad, to be honest and to be hospitable. I think that was one of her biggest things,
Okay.
that we needed
Yeah.
to be hospitable.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Did you have a career ambition as a young person?
I think as a young person at the time, I don't know what happened, but everybody wanted to do mass communication at the time. So at the time, I also wanted to do mass communication. Don't ask me what it is, because at the time I wasn't even sure, but it was just
Yes,
everyone was saying they
I'm
wanted to.
surprised because
Everybody.
well, somebody said, "What? Who would have thunk?" you know, mass communication.
That's what everyone was talking about at the time. So it
Where did they
sounded,
hear that from? And
I don't know, but
what brought it up?
it just sounded chic.
Nobody wanted to be a doctor.
Yes, others wanted to be, but
Yeah.
I had more of mass communication around, and so that's what I said I wanted to be. But and I think in a way, what I'm doing now has to do with communication,
It
and I
is
think it is
communication.
related
Yes.
in some way. So I'm
Well,
kind of
just not
doing
mass.
the clinical side of
Yes.
communication.
Yes.
Yes, because I eventually ended up doing clinical communications.
Right.
So I think it was in there somewhere.
Were there specific things that you were interested in as a young person?
Yes, I think I love
Drama.
and I wanted to act. Yes, at the
Ah.
time I loved to act.
Okay.
Yes, and I remember that at school I was in nearly every play
Wow.
at school. So I think if it had been today, I probably would have acted,
I see.
because I think I
And
liked
you would
to
have
act.
been a screen goddess, I gotta be honest
Oh
with
really?
you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah. So,
Thank you.
now in Wesley Girls, what did you study?
Wesley Girls, well, remember you had subjects. So I did arts. I can't remember the courses now because it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I did, so the normal English,
Yeah.
maths, general maths, and I didn't do additional maths. And I did geography
Okay.
and religious studies, French, and then home economics.
Yeah. So you are
Yeah.
an art student,
Yes,
basically.
yes.
Yeah.
I think did about 8. So yes, that's another thing. I'm an art student, but speech and language therapy is like a cross between arts and science.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said that if I had done that, if I was in this country, it probably would have been difficult for me to have been allowed to switch, because I'm an art student. But I was able to do that.
How did you do it? So what, after Wesley Girls, what did you do? You
After
traveled?
Wesley Girls, no, I was here. I did the University of Legon, and then I
University of
traveled.
Ghana.
University of Ghana, and then I traveled. Yes,
What did you study at the University of Ghana?
English.
English.
Yes, English and linguistics.
And linguistics. So, just when we started the conversation, William Ngumwa sent a message on our WhatsApp platform. It says, Lexis, you left one of her achievements out. And William puts this in caps and bold. He writes, she taught Queen Elizabeth II Brofu.
Who is that?
William Ngumwa, that's what he said. Says Nana is one of God's gifts to Ghana. Lexis, you have no idea how many lives she's touched since the early 2000s with our Wawa too. I've been blessed to have known and worked with her. Nana, this is your boy, now promoted to Dr. Kokoti Senior. So that's
That's Carl. I know him.
yes,
Yes.
that's
Oh,
William.
good. That's really kind.
Yes, lots of messages are coming in.
That's
Um,
kind.
my 3-year-old boy is not able to speak. He only bubbles a lot. He's in school. He could not mention daddy or mommy. He sometimes says, go, 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 go. He doesn't like some kind of food you may want to give him. And I think people are sharing their experiences as well. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for sending that as well. And I'm sure probably a bit later we can analyze that issue that was sent in. Ike in the USA sent a message, says, Lexis, I applaud your guest for her initiatives. Albert Einstein, we all know, was speech impaired until 5 years. Ghanaians need to do a lot more to enhance the disabled, and that's from Ike in the USA. Thank you so much. You can also WhatsApp us on 055 1111997, or if you are on our live Facebook feed, you can put your comments in the comment section so that we can read from you. Okay, so after doing arts and going to University of Ghana, they're going to do linguistics.
Then I went away
To the UK.
to the UK, and
What took you there? School?
initially, yes, I schooled in eventually, but then
No,
initially,
what took you there?
initially, what took me there? I think it's just wanting to go away at the time, and then also my yeah. So initially, I went away. Initially, I went away.
You know, you skipped the whole paragraph. That's okay.
How do you know? I
I
haven't
could
skipped
tell.
anything.
I could feel it. I saw the paragraph rolling out and you just skipped it. So you went away. Go ahead.
I went away, yes.
Yeah.
And so, and then I found work.
Mm.
And yes, and again, I got into work that had to do with helping people. And I think that's one of the things that I also enjoy, you know, making people happy.
Yeah.
Yes. And after working for a while, my nephew became involved in speech therapy.
Okay.
So he needed speech therapy at the time. So my younger sister's son.
Mm.
And I used to accompany her to her appointments and her reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just got interested. I thought, this is interesting.
Wow.
And the lecturer at the time, he's since died. He's called Professor Law. And he said, this would be a wonderful thing for you to explore.
Yeah.
So he arranged for me to go and visit therapists in hospitals, in
Mm.
schools, and in the community clinics. And then I decided that I would like to do it. So I enrolled for it.
Wow.
I applied and
Okay.
I was accepted.
And when you were done with it, now you.
And when I was done with
worked
it, I worked for over nearly 10 years in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I had the call to come to Ghana. I needed to come to Ghana to do a little research to find out what was going on in Ghana in relation to speech and language therapy. What was happening? Were people receiving similar services? Because in the UK, we found out that many people from Ghanaian and Nigerian backgrounds, like African backgrounds, were not really taking they were not benefiting from the service because they were not going for their appointments. Mm. So I came to Ghana and I did a needs assessment just to find out about speech and language and what was here.
Yeah.
And found there was nothing.
Was that research
very
done
little.
because was that an academic research?
I did it, yes, as an academic research. However, it was something that I did for myself, just to find out. And then subsequently, I decided to come home and start something.
Okay, you've done this research. You realize that there's nothing of the sort. It means that the system itself doesn't have structures to support anything of the sort at the time, right?
So when I came in, I tried with the government sectors first. Mm-hmm. I did a bit of going around and finding out what was there. So I got to know quite a few local organizations. So I got to know, for example, the Autism Awareness Care and Training Center, which is ACT, and linked up with them and thought, okay, we have something for autism. So I was trying to find groups for all the different areas that I work with, and found that there wasn't much. Apart from autism, I didn't find anything. Apart from ACTS, I didn't really find much. So I got in touch with GES, the special ed section, and I was very, very frequent visitor there, trying to see if we could collaborate and do something together. But I got a bit frustrated, I must say.
You got frustrated?
Yeah.
They were not open to it?
I don't know. Well, it's a bigger organization and it's a government organization. So even if they were interested, it had to go through, lots and lots of bureaucracy stuff.
Yeah.
So in the end, someone from the special ed advised me, Nana, if you really want to do this, just go set your own thing up and just go ahead with it, because they would just frustrate you or delay you. So
is that what you did?
And that's what I did. Yes. So I started off with this, I don't even know how. I think people got to know that I was around and started referring children to me.
Yeah.
Initially, I wasn't sure whether I was going to stay, but so when I started seeing the children, I thought, there's no turning back.
Yeah. But
so I went back,
yeah,
and then I terminated my appointment and then came down.
At the time, you were being paid well.
Yeah.
And at the time,
I was comfortable.
You were comfortable.
Yeah.
Don't be.
I didn't used to think about it when I signed my checks.
But when you go back here, you had to count every dollar or every city. Huh?
Yes, I do. Now I do.
At the time when you came back, and of course, like you said, you had to set it up on your own.
Yeah.
Start on your own.
Yeah. My husband helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, initially. He helped me a lot. So I had to, we had to invest, we put in our money and everything, because if you needed to rent a place, buy your equipment and stuff, we don't need much to start off to support these children. But still, whatever we needed, we had to find them ourselves.
Yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. But did it make money in the beginning?
No, the idea is not to make money. The idea is to help. And so we are not into making money. I have a colleague with whom we've set up a practice, a private practice. So we work there like social entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So the idea is that the profits from our private practice will then support our two, and he also has a deaf organization that he helps. So that was the idea, that we have the private practice, and then the private practice, the profits from the private practice will help our two and his organization. So the idea was it's not there for profit.
But I'm thinking it's a job. This is your job that you were doing.
Yes, at the time, I think because I had a little money myself, so I was relying on that money. It's very difficult, because if you said you're going to pay yourself, you have to pay yourself something in the end, but you can never pay yourself like big monies, because whatever you pay yourself, you have to take it from people who are already overburdened.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have a child who has a challenge or who has a disability, it is an expensive situation to be in. And so you can't, it's very difficult to charge huge amounts of money so that you feel comfortable. Yeah. So you have to do something else to be able to supplement what.
What else did you do?
Work as a speech and language therapist, and in the private practice, and support myself that way. And then now I'm doing the university as well.
Were there times that you thought, maybe let me just go back to the UK where things are a lot easier and I have all the structures?
I really have never, because the children don't stop coming through. The parents, the families don't stop coming through, and in fact I have thought about, and I've thought, I can't go back, with all these people. What am I going to do with them? Who am I going to leave them with? I can't go back. So in fact, what I have done is sponsored somebody to also go and do the speech and language therapy program, so that even if I'm not there, it will continue. So there'll be people to be able to.
What was the one thing that really shocked you when you started operating in Ghana?
Many things shocked me. I don't know. I can't think of one thing that shocked me, but there were many things that shocked me. I think now it's probably people having very little knowledge and information about communication development and what to expect of their children at the different ages, so that people would come very late, for support, for help. So by 3 years, a child should really be talking and expressing themselves relatively well. And the fact that sometimes people would come and say, oh, Usa, the child is 3 years and Usa, or Yakwala, or she's still quite young. So I think some of that I found a little shocking, that, people would leave it for so long.
Yeah.
Yes, before coming for help. Or that the father or somebody in the family never spoke till they were about 6 or 7 years old. And I'm always saying that could be true, but you also need to know about the circumstances and what was happening at the time. So if a child didn't speak till they were about 6 or 7, what else was happening at the time? Yeah. So I think I found that a little difficult, which meant that people were not, I don't know what was happening in the child welfare clinics, because child welfare clinics are supposed to be giving information to parents when they had their babies, and they went for the weighing, or they went to the clinics. But I think we find that the child welfare clinics had been reduced to weighing clinics. So they just go weigh the baby and then they're out. But ideally, they should be talking about all these things, about the development of the child, because hearing how the child hears, it has a development, a process.
There are milestones.
The milestones, yes. Communication has milestones. Physical development has milestones. Emotional development has milestones. They all have milestones. And I think some of these things are left out. And I think I found that a little difficult.
Maybe this time you should give us a more holistic picture of your work, so that folks can understand, the things that you do. I mean, I know you work with children with speech and language difficulties, autism, Down syndrome, cleft palate, and stroke patients as well. Give us some education on this whole thing, generally.
Okay, so generally, children there are different kinds of communication disabilities, and I tend to focus on children. So you can have children who come in with all the ones that you mentioned. So they are children who have a primary problem. So they may have a primary difficulty, which may be because they have autism, then communication becomes a problem. Because they have a hearing impairment, then communication becomes a problem. Same with Down syndrome, because there are certain things that makes it very difficult or makes it uneasy for communication to flow. So for example, if you take autism, they have difficulties with interaction. That is one of the major areas that they fall short of. So they have difficulties with communication. They may be obsessive about things. Some may not talk. Their behavior is different, or the way they act, the way they are wired, and so the way that they might respond to their surroundings is very different. And so they need speech and language therapy to help them to be able to be part of what goes on in society, I would say, to be included. If you take children with Down syndrome, we know that sometimes inside their mouths they may have a bigger tongue, for example. Their palates may be a little bit arched, So that can affect the way that they articulate the sounds. So what happens in their mouth affects the way, because if you have a heavy and a big tongue, then you are not able to, it's not easy for you to make precise movements
Yeah.
and be able to articulate sounds very well. And if your palate is also a bit arched, then it is not easy to be able to make certain sounds as well as you could. But then there are other areas as well. The same with cerebral palsy, they may also have their issues. And then hearing impairment, they also have their issues.
Okay. What really are the causes of, well, especially speech and language difficulties?
It's difficult. I mean, the causes are many and
Vast.
varied. Yes. So you can take like the infections. Infection meningitis, for example, is one big one. Cerebral malaria is another. And then generally, sometimes concoctions that people take when they are pregnant, not knowing much about it.
Concoction.
Yeah, so people may take some herbs or medicines or stuff that may not have been prescribed and not know exactly what is in, and that can also cause alcohol.
Are you referring to concoctions for them or what? I don't understand.
For the pregnant woman.
For the pregnant woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the pregnant woman.
Like herbs or medicines.
Yeah, they take certain medicines that that's not been prescribed. So this kind of self-medication.
Yeah.
And they have not been prescribed, and you may not know exactly what is in and not know how that affects the fetus. Alcohol can also.
Alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah, excessive alcohol can actually cause problems for your baby, because children are also born with fetal alcohol syndrome. So, I don't know, they're born drunk. So that can also create
And it's
problems.
not just for on the woman's part, the men too, right?
Um,
Or the evidence is not conclusive on the men's part.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about the men's part
Yeah.
yet. Yes, but I think for now there's a lot more, because when you're carrying the baby, whatever you do
Yeah.
impacts on that
You're
baby.
gonna let the men smile a little bit, but it's okay. I see. Wow.
But I think if it's to do with genetics, then yes, then the men, it's usually genetics. That's when the men are involved. So if it is something that is in the family from, then
In your case, what does the therapy involve?
therapy involves playing. A lot of the time, therapy involves playing with your child, being at the level of the child. What I have observed and I've been telling parents is that we should realize that children, once upon a time, were in a place called the womb, and then they come to planet Earth. And once they come onto planet Earth, they are learning a lot about what goes on planet Earth. Between 0 to 3, they learn so much across different areas. And so therapy actually involves ensuring that the milestones are achieved for many of these children. So if you have a child who has been diagnosed with, let's say, autism, at 2 years, they are not saying anything. At 2 years, they're running around. Their attention and listening is not very strong. They are not interacting. They're not looking at anybody. They are not stopping to listen. They're not doing things that they were supposed to do, according to the milestones.
Yeah.
And so we tend, at Awawatu, we tend to look at the milestones, and then we find where the child is deficient. Okay, and look at the deficits, and then we help the child build up those skills from there.
Okay.
So
Lots
those are
of
some of the
messages are
things.
coming in. I'm impressed. Godwin in Kanda says, Lexis, the other side of the issue is that by helping one or two of these special children to attain their full potential, we motivate other parents and children to strive for themselves or their children. By lifting one, we lift up many.
And
This,
that's
I
true.
believe, will break some kind of vicious cycle and start a new path.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you so much, Godwin, for your message. This is from Akins, I think, in Nottingham, University of Leeds, UK. Yeah, Akins in University of Leeds, UK. Lexis, it's very appalling that our country doesn't have facilities to support children with special needs. I'm pursuing a PhD studies in special education needs in the University of Leeds, and trust me, Ghana has a long way to go with regards to resources for children with special education needs and disabilities. Yeah, that's from Akins in the University of Leeds. Thank you so much, Akins. We're really grateful that you sent in a message. Mr. Francis Amedume from Tema Community uh, Community 25 wants us to connect him to you. Okay, that's very fine. I'm sure we can connect you to Nanekia. Good evening, Lexis. I did special education in Winneba. We did speech and language, deviation, anatomy, and audiology. I developed more interest in it, but here in Ghana, no headway. I was a teacher before the university, so now I am back to the classroom. Please ask her for me any advice and help. And that's from Aria in Mampo Ekiapem.
That's actually a very sad situation, because we have many people who have been trained as special needs teachers who end up in regular classrooms because their colleagues sometimes tease them and say that, okay, you've been with special needs children, so you are also kind of special need.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's some stigmatization there.
Yes.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
Eugenia says, I met Naneke at Rima House. She introduced me to World War II, and it was the best decision ever. My daughter Elsie is 13 and doing extremely well with speech now.
Oh.
Thank you, Nana. You've been a blessing.
Oh, thank you.
That's
thank
so heartwarming. Good evening, Lexis. Great show indeed, and I'm loving it here at Ekumfi Amisano. Misano. Okay, Ekumfi Amisano. And this is from Amwening Benjamin. Thank you so much, Benjamin. I'm glad that you sent in a message. I mean, I wish you could go on and on and on, but tell me, Naneke, what is the biggest lesson life and living this practice has taught you?
Well, what it's taught me is that we need to be humble in many ways. It's like anything can happen. Your child, because some children are born with no challenges, or people don't have any challenge, and anybody can have a disability at any point in time. At any point, anything can happen, an accident, anything can happen for you to end up with a challenge. So it's important that we all pull together to help each other, and to help, when you think about persons with special needs, not to see them as hopeless. Okay, we should never see any person with a special need, a child with a special need, or even an adult as a hopeless case, because I think that given the right input and the right support, many of these people can rise up, to the challenge that they may be facing.
Millicent Ampa is on our Facebook live feed now and says, I'm Mimi from Pokiase, and I think I'm interested in her line of study. I'm really impressed and touched. I will make further inquiries and surely join her. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Desmond Kwesi Boating says, I'm proud of her daughter. She's just as smart as her mother. Great woman. Oh, you have a daughter? I don't know whether
Who's
that's
that?
He's Desmond Kwesi Boating. Yeah. I don't know what he's referring to, but yeah. Interesting. Maybe there's another message that I'd need to go scroll down our Facebook feed to pull up. But anyway, thank you so much, Desmond, for sending in that message. This woman is a great learned woman. Ghana is blessed to have her. Great impact to the nation. And Nesba Irakwa said, that's my mother-in-law, a great woman. It's like family members have showed up,
Yeah, because we have, she has, like I have a grandson with cerebral palsy. She has a son with a cerebral palsy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is hope.
There is always hope. There is always hope, and I think it's important that people do not lose hope. And people, I would like to say to anybody out there who has a child with a disability, that just as you invest in your children with no disabilities, do that, make that same investment in the child with a disability, and you may be surprised. They might surprise you.
You're an angel. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
on behalf of all the many families that you've helped, in fact, your story provoked some curiosity in me to find out more about speech impairments and the disabilities and the challenges with speech and hearing and all of that. And so I'm sure a lot more people, and I like the education as well that you've given about taking concoctions when you're pregnant and alcohol use and all of that. Maybe you should wrap it all up in one last advice before we can wrap up the conversation.
I think, sorry, there was something else that I wanted to say, and I think having this opportunity is good to talk about it, and that's to do with voice,
Okay.
because we also work with voice problems.
Okay.
And I mean, we find that in Ghana, there are many people with voice problems who do nothing about it.
Okay.
And it just aggravates, it just gets worse and worse and worse, and then you might find in the end, you may have your voice actually taken away from you. So you need to be able to protect and to look after your voice, especially people who sing and pray aloud a lot, and teachers, or people who are engaged in professions that involve a lot of talking.
Me.
Yeah, so just make sure that you're looking after your voice.
How do we
It's
look
just
after
water.
it?
Water, as we say, water is life. Just
Yeah.
make sure that you always have water. Your vocal cords are always lubricated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me gobble down some water
Yeah.
now.
You're always sipping water, yes. And making sure that every time you are talking, you make sure that you have some water that you sip. If you
Okay.
can't do it whilst you're talking,
Yeah.
as soon as you finish, make sure that you've had some water.
Okay.
Cut down on late eating and too much spicy foods late at night.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All those affect your voice.
yes, they do affect your voice. They can affect your throat area.
Yeah.
And that can affect your voice.
Wow.
Yeah. And we find that people have lost their voice and they are talking a bit like this, but they are still talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like that. It's like, oh, tomorrow I'll come. Now, you need to rest that
Rest the
voice. You need to rest that voice. When your voice gets that bad, you need to rest it. You should not be doing a lot of talking, because you could pay for it sometime.
I'm personally happy you actually mentioned this because I work with my voice.
Yes.
And at least I'm doing one thing right. I take a lot of water, so that's good.
It's very good.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so happy.
You're doing the right things.
I'm
Yes.
so happy that I met you. I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
God bless you, and I pray that you continue to grow in all that you're doing, and hopefully it brings more returns as well and more fulfillment.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe it will.
Amen. Nana Ekia.
Oh, yes. Nana Equia Victoria Owusu. You left out the
Victoria.
Victoria. I meant to attack you for that.
Why are you so keen on the Victoria?
Because it was given to me by my parents and I wanted to keep it in. And I
Okay.
think it's not a bad name. It means a victorious person.
You're defending it.
Yes, I am.
I actually
So,
kept the Nana Ekia
I like
because
it
of
there.
Yeah, okay.
I like
that's
it there.
okay.
And I also like it because I find that many Ghanaians find it very difficult to have an English name in the middle.
Yeah.
Rather
and
than
yours
at the
is in
beginning.
middle. Good
Yes.
stuff.
And they keep changing it.
The video for this conversation is live on our Facebook page, and when we're done, the video is there. You can share. You can actually watch it again if you missed any part of the conversation. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm Lexis Bill on behalf of the team. Do have a great evening. Uncle Ken will be on your radio very shortly, but it's 8 o'clock, and we'll find out what's happening in